so hello and welcome to this new just-in-time Genie responses to everyday issues. And upon request, we're going to go for virtual teams, how to deal with some of the issues that virtual teams have. Carol and I have thought this is now a really big topic because teams are more and more becoming virtual. And we've identified about 5 key issues that we're going to cover, not all in this call, so one at a time. If you have any others, then bring them up. If not, we'll just go with these and you can tell us, you can give us your comments as we go along. So Carol, do you want to give the key issues?
Sure. So, and thank you for the people that made the suggestion because it really is so timely. We're going to talk about today we're going to be talking about building trust. The second one will be surrounding frustrations that come about. The third, managing meetings. The fourth is the different type of communication methods. Then dealing with different time zones and work-life balance. And finally, kind of thriving in this environment.
Right. And for number 2, the frustrations, is my fault. I didn't write the notes very well. The frustrations mainly arising around cultural differences. And what we mean
Correct, yes.
Cultural differences is not, is mainly, but not only, country, language, global cultural differences, but also differences that arise from different roles. So the way people think and communicate when they're stereotypically, when they're engineers versus designers or logistics people versus strategy people, they also create cultural differences in the way we communicate. So we're going to be addressing those.
Exactly. Thank you.
Good. Okay, so as Carol said, today we're going to be starting with building trust. And building trust in a face-to-face team is already difficult, but in a virtual team, it's even more difficult. So, and yet it's key. It's key to the functioning of the team. So the thing that I guess here is a good time to come up with some short anecdotes. Some of the things that I lived through when I was in working in a global company and we had a lot of virtual meetings were this concept of, is there actually a team? So one of the key things that we are going to talk about today is build a team identity. And by team identity here, what we mean is create an actual name or a metaphor or an animal. Go through the steps of saying, what is our team about? What is our mission? How does it fit in with the company mission? Who are our key stakeholders? How do we as a team solve problems internally and with other people? So basically it's about creating an identity. Actually, it helps if you have a symbol or a thing, even if it's just internal, with agreements. Carol, what would you say about that?
Yeah, so, and I totally agree about having the name. It seems so simple and, why would you need that? But I remember, and this is going back, gosh, about 20 years ago, I was on an account management team and they kind of changed the structure and they broke us into 2 big teams and we were the red team and the green team. But just even having that kind of camaraderie and pride in your team and the metrics you were delivering, and you kind of set up your own little mini culture within that team. And so you felt like you were part of a tribe. So right there, it helped to build those relationships a little bit. Because let's face it, it takes time to build relationships and trust goes along with that.
And you've just touched on a really important thing, which is when you're building your team identity, it isn't just about what's our mission, what are our objectives, although those need to be really clear and whose role is it to deliver what. That needs to be super clearly explicit and written down, as do the agreements that are work related. But here's the thing, that the key to the connection and the trust comes from the depth of the connection, which means sharing your personal self as well.
Yes.
Your likes, your dislikes, how's your day going, what's worrying you at the moment, what are your hobbies, what's your passion. in a recent workshop I did. We did this, and there was a real, can't we just get down to the strategy for next year? Why do we need to even go down the route of getting to know each other like this? Can't we just have lunch together? And I remember they all did this exercise of talking about what are the experiences they want to have in their life, how they want to grow, what their key contribution to the world is. And it seemed really personal. They got really, but then when they started to see each other speak, not only were they surprised that they didn't focus so much on work, they got to know each other because their faces lit up, because what's outside of work also is you. And these are the little anecdotes and the little moments that help me to know you and understand you, so that when I have an issue in the office, I know I can count on you.
Exactly. And going back to some of the agreements,
Yeah.
I think it's really important right from the get-go that you kind of have your team manifesto, like this is what's expected. Yeah. This is the type of communication everybody prefers.
And that helps us to be free,
right? Right. There's no surprises. Everybody knows what's expected of them. And because as we've talked about offline, there's so many people who are in a virtual situation where they feel very cut off. They're not sure what's going on. Is somebody else on the team getting more opportunities or more kudos because maybe they're around their manager and I'm way over here, out of sight, out of mind. And so I think, as a message to leaders, making sure if you have a virtual team that you're engaging everyone, that everyone feels like they have a voice and they're not off on an island somewhere.
And maybe that should be an explicit agreement as well. How do we make sure everybody gets floor space, information sharing? That's a key one. When it comes to key roles and responsibilities, there is a responsibility as a team to make sure everybody's being heard. So there isn't one person taking the floor all the time or never speaking. That's a really big one. So we said, have an image or an animal or something that gives your team a name and an image. Have a clear mission that links to the company mission directly. Have clear roles and responsibilities that are agreed. More importantly, agree on how you're going to be together and with other people. So how do we solve problems? When do we meet? How do we want to be with each other? Do we want, we should celebrate? What do we celebrate? How? Being grateful. I mean, this sounds a bit funny, but saying thank you when somebody does something or helps you out. Will we be helping each other out?
I think that's huge, because I think sometimes you have to think about it. What would you do if you weren't a virtual team? If you had a coworker who did something for you or stepped in, right then and there, you'd say thank you, whatever. I think when you're kind of hiding behind a keyboard, and I shouldn't say hiding, but that's kind of the nature of it.
Right.
It's not anything that's personal, but you might not be thinking of it because it is kind of out of sight, out of mind. So having these regular meetings, a regular cadence where everybody contributes and talks about what were their challenges for the week,
right.
What were their wins for the week, and nobody feels like they have to reinvent the wheel because they're hearing what their coworkers went through. I mean, that would happen definitely in person. I know I did that with my team in my past life, and I don't think it should be any different for a virtual team.
Right.
People need to know that what they're doing is appreciated and not going into a black hole. And they also conversely need to know I have a safe space to reach out if I'm struggling.
Absolutely.
That
not isolating yourself even more. And just to come to one key important, probably last point, I see you out there, those teams who say, but our projects aren't that related. So we might be in the same team, but we're working on different things. Now, I recently worked with a team that was exactly like that. They really had unrelated, on paper, projects. But through doing the team bonding thing, finding an identity, they realized how they could help each other as humans. So to thrive, to deal with difficulties, to problem solve, to bounce ideas, to brainstorm, to learn from each other, to understand what their next steps are, to be able to support each other, and have times to actually learn from each other's projects instead of working in silos.
Absolutely.
So that's a key one, no matter what kind of a team you're in.
Yes, yes. And I think the other thing we were talking about is, as much as possible, using technology to have face-to-face meetings, because
Right.
in this day and age, there's not really an excuse why you can't do that. Because, and I'm sure most people know this, but about 93% of our communication is nonverbal. So you're at a big disadvantage if all you're doing is going through email and on the phone, because you have no idea as you're talking on the phone if someone's rolling their eyes while you're speaking, or if, you know, conversely, if they think, hey, yeah, that's really great, but yet their tone doesn't show they're excited about your idea.
Yes, and that's the key one. It's the assumptions that we make, and how we take things personally gets even bigger in these sorts of meetings. We will be covering that in the cultural difference frustration, and also in how to manage meetings effectively, as well as in how to thrive, because it's a key one. So we will be coming back to that one. But for today, we wanted to cover that trust building is connection, not just from a work perspective, but a personal perspective, and having very clear contractual agreements with each other about how you're going to be and how you want to be. In coaching, it's what we call co-creating. And as soon as I'm creating with you rather than being imposed, I feel more motivated, I feel more engaged, and I feel it's more mine. So I feel
Yes.
responsible for it. And
Yeah,
that's
I love that. Yeah, I love the term co-creating. You're speaking my language. I love that.
if you think we haven't particularly, or you want to enlarge something, like how do we make agreements on problem solving, then, you know, give us a shout.
Yeah, because we love the fact that people are engaging and talking about the things that are affecting them,
Yeah.
and this is a big one. And this first topic, building trust, is a huge one, and that's whether you're remote or not. You know, that takes time. It takes effort. It takes being authentic, saying what you mean what you say, being transparent,
Discipline.
being helpful. I mean, all of these things. So yeah, anything else you would like a little bit more information or a little more discussion on, please let us know.
Yep. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one, where we'll be discussing cultural differences and how to deal with those in a virtual team. So,
Bye, everyone.
bye from Carol and me. Bye.